story begins here, in the remote village of Wasanga, in Foya District, Lofa County, northern Liberia.
Foya is the biggest district in this county, and it is close to the border by the Republic of Sierra Leone, and it is dominated by the Kisi ethnic group, and it is mainly an economic area, is in terms of the economy or the economic aspect based on its proximity. They do a lot of trade, most especially when it comes to the border.
It was here on the 30th of November in 1944 that one of Liberia's public-spirited patriots was born.
Joseph Numa Boakai from Wasanga, Foya District, Lofa County. The fifth son of my mother. That's how I got the Numa name. And I'm from this very community in Foya.
Later, Newman lived in poverty and struggled through education, but he withstood the test of time, working with other kids on the farm to support the family, a routine he equated to focus on his future.
Traditional village life, at a certain age, you got up in the morning and people are going on the farm, and you probably would take the chicken basket with the chicken in there, and normally it's cold and the grass is wet, so they usually have something to shake the water up. And you go to the farm and your job there is to do errands.
When you go to the farm, where people turn their head to scratch the farm, he turns his face down so. People look at him and say, oh, that's not the way, turn your face so. They turn his face. Or you can't make it up.
I do remember that one of the times, having gone to school, you drive birds from the farm. And usually there's a way they call people who drive birds from the farm, Inkisi Chwanjowa, that means people who drive birds, but it sounds like the children of the birds. And as you see, I was not accustomed to that. So when I was called that name, I complained to my mother that they were calling me the child of a bird, and she had to explain to me that it's normally how they refer to people who drive birds. It doesn't mean you're a child of a bird.
Epitomizing the Liberian adage that it does not matter where one comes from, but where he's headed, today Joseph Newman Boakai is a radiant hope for his hometown and a model citizen. Everywhere he goes, the poor, the grassroots, the farmers, and all who have been touched by his works await him patiently.
I remember at the time we used to walk from here to Foya. We used to look for a road in the bush, a path road to go to Foya. But during the time he worked for LPMC, he was able to help making this road, the motor car road, the road that car can move on. Because I told you, I said we used to walk in the bush to go to Foya. But then, as he took that first position, I mean, he did something that we all knew that if he was given the chance in the future, he could do more than that. So actually, we kept praying for him that he will be somebody fruitful to help us.
Honorable Boykai has served his country as Managing Director of the Liberia Produce Marketing Corporation, Managing Director of the Liberia Petroleum Refinery Company, LPRC, in 1992, and as Minister of Agriculture from 1983 to 1985. His legacies are there for all to see.
Well, for example, in this community, the people predominantly grow rice. So the oil palm became a source of earning cash. And when we were planting these oil palms, there was a little bit of opposition because if people here felt they didn't have much land. But nowadays, they are grateful that they have the oil palm. Not only that they have it, they want more of it because it has become a very important source of income.
For these and many other Liberian women, agriculture has supported many families. In fact, it is the backbone to Liberia's economy. Both men and women play significant roles on various fields.
She joined this organization mainly because she has children. They have to go to school. She has to feed the children. And also she has a lot of activities to do at home. This is why she deemed it necessary to be part of this group to produce rice, and she will be able from the production here, any share she receives from here, she will be able to support the family because she don't have a husband. Most of them that are here, as she said, they don't have husband. It is from here they base and get money to sponsor their children to go to school and do other home activities.
So I keep me to you doing.
Well, I've known him as a young man in college in the 80s, in the 1980s, when I was at a university. And then when I graduated, I worked and I knew him very well. He was a Minister of Agriculture, very, very strategic and focused. And I've been fortunate over the last 4 or 5 years since I came back to work with him at various levels. He is a role model. He's actually my inspiration. I worked in the ministry as an advisor, and I always consulted him in terms of how we move things forward. And he's somebody who you can trust. He has a passion for agriculture. That is very important.
She said she saw a great changes and His Excellency Ambassador Joseph Nyuma becomes Vice President for this Republic. There are changes. Even he came from here, there are a lot of changes that have been made since he became the Vice President for this Republic. The qualities that she saw in His Excellency Ambassador Joseph Nyuma for becoming a President for this Republic. One, in the history she saw that people told them and they saw it in the clear picture that even the palm mill that we are seeing, those things were brought on this side by His Excellency Joseph Nyuma at the time when he was in the Ministry of Agriculture. More besides, even the palm mill that was built to Chesene, all of these things were brought by Joseph Nyuma, and that if he becomes the president for this republic, he will even do more than what he did when he was not there.
One time he met us, we were cutting the rice here, because that times it's very hard for us to get a sickle knife to cut the rice. So he met us suffering. That yes, he gave us great support. When he get there, he will be there. For we are the poorest people. We don't have nobody to help. Like me, I'm sitting down. No fathers, no mothers, nothing. Nobody is helping me. But through that papi, the help he start giving all from this one here, I know that when he get there, he will help me. He will help the nation.
What you need to know is that even before he became Minister of Agriculture, he was the first Liberian to set up to work and stabilize the Liberia Produce Marketing Corporation, LPMC, which was a commodity agency looking after tree crops and other export crops. And he managed that very well. In fact, LPMC at the time was a force in ensuring the stability of the Agricultural Cooperative Development Bank, because they were able to aggregate cocoa, coffee, and related produce to be able to sell and create more jobs and generate revenues for the country.
To tell you the finance truth, the Papa is well qualified to go as a president, because within 4 years here, there's a palm tree, and most of our road, we used to make some creek, we used to make the lot. But when we look at in the setting this time around, the bridges have been built. This one that right here, that Joseph Boakai have made it by all possible back, we get a bridge. And most of the palm tree you see here, that Joseph Boakai bring that project, he helped us a lot. And from that palm tree, most of our brothers, most of our sisters going to school. Of those, by that time he bring this project, we were not alive that time. We were not born that time. But our fathers, they are benefit that they leave this palm tree for us. There were sometimes we can cut the palm tree, we sell it, we support our children to go to school.
So it's not something that he's going to be trying to do because he's president. He already has that passion for it. And we believe in the same thing. And he's been my advisor. And we agree that if we don't get agriculture right, whoever becomes president will find it difficult to run this country. So he has that to his advantage. And we'll provide all the support he needs to be able to ensure that what has been built, the foundation that President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf has set up, will be able to move very fast, because he's already part of the team and he understands the issues surrounding agriculture.
So along with the rice farming, it's the oil palm, and because not only Liberia, but I believe in Africa in general, that we are not going to be manufacturers of ships or airplanes, but we can feed the world, we can feed ourselves, because we have the soil, we have the climate, and the weather condition is favorable. So I do believe that agriculture is that way for Liberia and African countries to be able to build their economy.
Through it all, it was that singular choice of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to have Joseph Boakai as a vice president that brought the best out of him.
He had worked with my husband, in the Ministry of Agriculture. And so he became, in a way, a family friend. While I was out of the country, I established a small foundation called Miswagon, intended to help villagers. And he worked on that too while I was away. He was able to go and work with some of the farmers who were trying to help. And so I saw in him somebody dependable, somebody who I knew I could work with, somebody who had long ago I had an association, a friendship with. And I felt that's the person I could rely on to work with me on my agenda, and I've been proven correct.
The pair has managed to restore confidence in Liberia's agriculture sector. The president herself is personally involved in making agriculture a priority, while organizing the young people of Liberia to venture into the field, leading the way by establishing a farm in Western Liberia, Bomi County, that serves as an encouragement for her compatriots.
I see the result of my work and effort beginning to come to fruition as the best Christmas I can have. That's the joy that I get, because they prove that my example is now being repeated, is now being internalized and intensified through their effort. So all that they brought represented what they had grown, and they wanted to show me that indeed, they are now strong, small farmers. They are producing not only for their own needs, but producing for market. And so I think that to me, my purpose has been fulfilled in that regard.
As Vice President, Joseph Newman Boyka has continued to work along with President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to restore law and order in a country wrecked by years of a civil strife. Liberia today showcases a new hydropower plant at Mount Coffee with enhanced capacity, commissioned in 2016 to provide the much needed power for economic growth.
The Mount Coffee was already damaged. All of the substations were damaged. So basically, we had completely ground zero at LEC. The only thing to do was to plan to move up. And then most of the transmission lines were down. The wires were cut. The ones that in the substations, bullet holes, things were shot up. And of course, Mount Coffee was completely, so there was a total devastation. There was total devastation of the electricity infrastructure.
And that's how difficult it was. And so electricity was unheard of. Running water was unheard of. The streets, we used to call them, when you drive, you were massaged, because everything was down, completely down.
So it is regrettable that it happened. I'm sure everyone felt the absence of the power, use of generators, a lot of life being lost in the operation of generator, because carbon monoxide gas, community power wires are strung all around the community. People not aware of those cables. To get in contact with them, it causes life, and so I hope that with the creation of the Mount Coffee Hydro Power Plant, all of those things that were not done in a proper manner could be put in place, that the power plant will be able to supply the power to the various community, and they will use it adequately. How the power is generated, we are on the banks of the St. Paul River. And on the banks of the St. Paul River, we have 10 radar gates. By closing those gates, we redirect the flow of the water to our reservoir. At our reservoir, we have another set of gates that controls the water, build up the volume that we need to generate the power. And when all is set and we begin operation, those gates are open. The water flows into the spiral tube to the bottom of the turbine, and then from there electricity is produced through that process. It is generated from the turbine to the substation. At the substation, we transmit 66 kilovolts from Mount Coffee into Bushroy and into Painesville. What we do, we have 2 circuits going to Painesville and 2 circuits going into Bushroy. When we generate the power, we send it down to the Liberia Electricity Corporation grid, and then from there it is distributed towards the various community. So our primary operation here is to generate that power and evacuate that power from here to Bushroy and Painesville, and then from there it's taken to the LEC grid.
I think it's going to have they're going to have a lot of benefit. As you can tell, this yard is very quiet now, which means that there are no heavy fuel oil plants running. Mount Coffee is right now the plant that is taking most of the load. Even though it is in the test phase, so now we're testing Mount Coffee up to 100%. What that means is that if we don't have to buy fuel for these generators to run, eventually the water will get low in Mount Coffee. But if we don't have to buy fuel, the cost of electricity will be much cheaper. All of these enterprises will be able to afford the electricity and to be able to run efficiently and affordably.
And in that respect, they are right, because that is the one that affects their lives directly. And I can see that. But to produce that power cost $360 million. We would not have been able to do it if we were not able to go out and have the means to be able to get the support for doing so. But they're right. Like I say, that has a direct impact on their lives, and that will provide the basis for being able to get the economy to grow.
Well, I must give her the credit. It is through her hard work, through her inspiration, through her ability to convince the funders we have here now who funded this project to actually buy into the process. So politically, I think she scored a significant point by producing the power that she promised in her electoral process. So it's a good project. It worth its cost, and I hope that the Liberian people will use it accordingly. And it should be a project that will benefit the people, not just the residential aspect of the communities, but into the industrial aspect. People will now start to open up small businesses. People can go into farming and create some sort of economic engine that will benefit themselves through her hard work.
Vice President Joseph N. Boakai, I think I've known him for a good number of years. Originally I met him when he operated a business making wooden products, doors, and when I needed some doors, of course, he supplied them to me. Very insightful person. He listens very carefully, he takes in, and he makes wise decisions. He appears to be quiet, but I think that quietude is not a measure of his dynamism. It's a measure of his attentiveness to detail and being able to absorb the information that you're going to take. When he finally spews out his responses, they relate to what you're talking about, and they are very effective.
Vice President Joseph Boakai continues to encourage investors to take advantage of the investment climate in Liberia and ensures that basic social services are provided to the people of Liberia. Liberian workers can now also speak of a better future as they contribute to their retirement through NASCOR, the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation, that is now well positioned than it was several years ago.
Like everything else, the entire country was devastated. And clearly that would have included the pension fund. The NASCOR is a pension fund. It was eroded. And you know, when you're doing a pension fund, the most important part is the confidence that needs to be built within the populace and the employers that will pay. That was completely shattered. And so NASCOR had to, from the onset, try to rebuild confidence amongst employers and employees so as to start the process of payments and understanding the purpose of your pension. When we started, we had a backlog of pensions to pay. You had to pay that, meet your core obligations. And as the kitties started to grow, NASCAP could go into social responsibility. It became NASCAP's responsibility to start and augment the government's projects. And what we did was we started to, as companies came in, because of the total destruction of the country, they would need office space, they would need accommodation. All those things did not exist. We were foresighted. We jumped into Buchanan for starters. We had to start doing things in Monrovia. Opening places, our largest investment now is at the ELWA Junction. It was a multi-million-dollar building, and now it hosts the LRA. But what it did, not only did we put that building there, it changed the entire scenery of the Painesville area. Worked along with the Painesville City Corporation. We started funding several projects that would create a change and help start the rebuilding of the infrastructure in Liberia, as long as it was in the direction of the government.
Liberia can also today boast of rapid infrastructural development, first-class roads with modern architectural buildings.
If one looks back at it as where we started, the salaries, the capacity, the lack of institutions, the lack of laws, if they look back at that and look where we've come today, again, I say we've made progress. We haven't reached where I hoped we had reached, where we had planned to reach, but I'm satisfied with the progress we've made.
In terms of available resources, prevailing conditions, we can say the country had moved at least around 7.
I would like to see a consolidation of the gains that we have made in this administration. I would like the incoming administration to be able to carry out the rest of the agenda that we've already formulated. Our Vision 2030 has already been formulated. So all of those are there. Yes, a new administration may have additional things they want to do. They may want to change some of their priorities and re-emphasize certain areas. But I would like to see us stay on the course, because it is the course that's been well planned, on which great progress has been made, and any attempt to interrupt that and to roll things back will only delay the time when Liberia can truly march toward being a middle income country, which is our target for 2030.
I believe this country could do better if we have access to the other parts of the country. Roads will be number 1, road will be number 2, road will be number 3. We have to have access. Liberia could be much, much richer if we had connected the southeast, the northwest, the central part of Liberia, we wouldn't have the kind of difficulties that we have. And I know that is doable, and that already would be a way of reconciling the people, opening the country for development. And I have a pretty good idea of what the links are to make things work. So definitely the experience that I've had before and during this time, I think I'm prepared to be able to chart a course that can begin to build this country.